Sorry. Or liberation just have vastly different understandings of what liberation is for.
I haven't seen this much importance and attention.
The story itself is a really wonderful, really great setup.
Tractor beam has been engaged.
Hello, everybody. Sorry about that. A little bit of a hiccup with the got an error message or something happening there. So we're not going to get in all the Twitter bots, but we're going to get in a few. Welcome to the Tractor Beam Comics Reviews on the Star Wars Underworld Podcast Network. I'm Matthew. He is Chris. Today is Thursday, March 14th, Pi Day, 2024, the 10th week of comics in 2024. We have 3 comics to go through and 45 minutes to do it. So let's do it here on the lunch slot. Back to the lunch slot just for 1 day only, 1 week only. Very quick plugs. You can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at IonCannonPod, EYEONCANONPOD. You can follow Chris at Star Raptor, SDARRAPTER. There we go. And all the YouTube. We'll pick up those plugs at the end. Also tomorrow, Toronto Comic-Con. Tomorrow, 11 a.m. Going to be in a panel with certain Dominic Jones, certain Ash Wallace, and certain Claudia Gray tomorrow at 11. And then Saturday at 4-ish is going to be High Republic with Ash. And then 6 p.m. going to be Taylor Swift. And then Thursday, Friday, Sunday, whatever day that is, Sunday at around 3-ish something. That'll be Dom's celebrating Star Wars panel with the few cool folks. Kevin from Toying Around, Alicia from the great Padme cosplayer. So check that out if you're at Comic-Con. We're still, I think, figuring out recording stuff. Hopefully we'll be able to do that. But stay tuned for everything we might be able to do here. If not, just check our socials, check everything. We'll have coverage, we'll have thoughts, we'll have things to say. Fair enough. But let's dive right in. High Republic Adventures number 4. This is the old format. This is the blowing through it, getting through it. High Republic Adventures number 4, written by Daniel Jose Older, art by Elisa Romboli, colors by Michael Attier, and covers by the dynamic duo of Harvey and Kevin Tolibao. Zine, Jedi Knight Court, and Droid 5AG3 have been following every clue to find answers about their friends who are missing and presumed dead since the Starlight Beacon disaster. Together with an assemblage of battle-ready Jedi, smugglers, and pirates, they've got a new lead to pursue, and it is taking them straight to a Nihil prison ship. There they hope to discover surviving allies there. First off, let's look at this cover again. That's Niv Drendau. You can't see that. That's show your cover again. Niv Drendau, and of course Drigget Parse, and of course a nameless in the back. I'm really glad I finished Escape from Valhalla, but it was really neat for DJO to carry over the characters. That we write in the young reader novel that we just read. But also I thought it was effective the way the having Zine narrate, and then is it Farzala, I believe it's he's narrating on the prison ship, and then having that kind of converge. Really interesting questions. Again, way of showing Zine as a way of showing Lula's character development. Zine's narration. I mean, Zine is seeing Lula through Zine's own eyes, through her own eyes, but kind of it's this question. Lula seems to be committing more and more to knighthood, to Jedihood, which means away from Zine, and that's building up the central drama in this book, building up a central drama in this comic run as well, just in their whole saga, all the way back to phase 1. So they first meet in High Republic Adventures phase 1, issue number 1, or whatever issue that was, by Daniel Jose Older. So really, really intriguing. And I get Niv Drendau, my children, gotta protect my children. Really, established what DJO and Alyssa established in Escape from Valhalla about how he's so fixated on the nameless. Maybe kind of this kind of weird hyper obsession, but also he does know that they're so central to the Nihil. They're so central to the Nile's ability to take out the Jedi and weaken the Republic, and therefore central to his plan to have more prominence in the Nile um, overall. So, yeah, a great, really kind of middle transition issue, moving the plot forward. And then the last thing, the prison ship seeming a lot like what I envision kind of the Great Hall of the Gaze Electric to be. This kind of just this force field, and then everything between, and then that finale at the end, that last shot where the warden takes down the force field, and yeah, it's who knows what's going to happen because they're kind of all these Jedi are just chucked into space somehow. So that's from what I read. So yeah, that's very quickly my thoughts on High Republic Adventures #4. Chris, throw it to you. What do you think of this issue?
Yeah, I thought it was really great. I liked the idea of the narration by Zine Morala, right? She's a young teenager at this point, so we get that
Yeah.
teenage angst kind of out of her. That kind of emo-ish, kind of
Mhm.
like, oh, my life is not so great. My girlfriend doesn't even know who I am anymore. If she
Yeah.
wants to become a Jedi, then I'm out of here. So it's like that you would expect that kind of stuff from again aging up characters.
Yeah.
The people that are reading this book, the intended audience is growing up with these characters, so these characters, it makes sense. These kids are kind of going through maybe the same sort of stuff that she is, so it's
Mhm.
really neat to see that character development in an overall really fun book. I
Mhm.
like the idea that we're moving the plot forward, we're moving the story forward as well as not just the characters, because we get a lot of new characters in this book. I mean,
True.
it was they hit you in the face with this Jedi, this other Jedi. It's like, yeah, these are all new. And even in fact, there's even one Jedi returns from
Mhm.
something as obscure of an audience range from a VR game. I mean,
Really?
a
Who was
couple,
that?
maybe 1,000 people in the world probably played it.
Yeah,
Tales from Galaxy's Edge, and that's Addie
that's cool.
Sunzi. She is in one of the flashback sequences
Is that what
with,
she's in? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I know she's in that. I thought she was in something else too, but
I she was mentioned in the previous issue of this
oh,
run,
I
but
see.
we haven't really seen her elsewhere. So that was really interesting. But
Mhm.
yeah, just the idea of a two-pronged approach. You have Farzala who is making a stand, and it kind of reminded me of a recent episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where it's like everybody just starts saying I'm a Jedi even though they're not a Jedi. And it just like confuses the heck out of the Nile.
Mhm.
And great character design, nice inclusion of a brand new species by Harvey Talabal. So
Mhm.
very congrats to him for creating a new. I think he was the writer, yeah, for creating a. Oh no, actually, oh
Uh,
no, the artist is
it's
Alessa
Alyssa
Ramboli for
Rumble, yeah.
creating a new Star Wars species with the Warden. We don't know what he is, but
Sure.
very threatening character. But yeah, I'm loving the idea of an epic kind of space battle while these
Mhm.
people are fighting in a prison. And I will say one last thing. It's like between the High Republic last week, between the High Republic Adventures this week, there's really not that many people dead from Starlight Beacon. I hate it's like there's like Elzar
Interesting.
Mann, Orla Jareni, the guy that was created for that book. I don't even I forget his name already.
Yeah.
The Maru, Estala Maru, like there's like maybe 5 or 6 known Jedi that
Mhm.
actually died. The rest are just like popping up everywhere.
That's right. Buckets of Blood is alive.
Yep.
From Buck's there. Yeah, that's true.
Yep.
Come to think of it, yeah. I mean, the characters that needed to go. It's an odd way of putting it. We're looking at it. We're seeing a lot of characters that are. Yeah, you're right. Still alive. That's interesting.
Mm.
The I'm a Jedi. I'm a Jedi. I think that's also kind of a reference to Monty Python's Life of Brian,
Uh,
where they're all being crucified, and
oh.
and like I'm Brian. I'm Brian. No, I'm Brian. I'm Brian, and so is my wife. That kind of some similar kind of thing. I'm guessing Curb is referring to
Oh,
channeling
okay.
Python a little bit there. So there we go. That's a good spot though. That's a good spot, Chris. Fun times. Okay, I think we should probably move on just because press for time. I know. This is the different thing. Next week it's gonna be different. I hope. Mace Windu #2, written by Mark Bernardin, art by George Genti and Dexter Vines, colors by Andrew Dalhouse, and covered by Mateus Mananini. Into the storm against the Boreworm. Mace Windu and Azita Cruz must work together to escape the menace of the Boreworm. What else lies in their path, and who is following them, and what is Coaxium Ultra? Chris, I'll throw this one to you. What do you think of Mace Windu #2?
Well, first off, I think it's worth talking about the cover because this is some of the most
Yeah.
unique covers I've seen in Star Wars comics in a long time.
Mhm.
Can't quite describe what they look like. Like even the next issue also has that same design. It's just very colorful, very vibrant.
Yeah,
Doesn't really look like comic book art. It looks like something completely different.
sure.
So, got to give a shout out to
Matthias.
Matthias Menahini
Yeah.
for that because that definitely stands out on the shelf, in and out of the comic book store, whatever on your collection. As far as this is exactly what I want to see. They continuing to flesh out the character of Mace Windu.
Mhm.
Um, Doing really interesting things with him, like for instance, not letting him rely on his lightsaber. He was just
Sure.
using everything but his lightsaber in this issue. We're learning more about him. We're learning a lot about Azita Cruz. We're learning about the backdrop of the current galaxy pre Phantom Menace. We're going to Jabba's palace. There's people even like double crossing Jabba in a way. We're getting a new faction that's introduced. So overall, I really enjoyed just this issue for the pacing. You know, we're on a plot adventure, but we're also learning a lot more about Mace Windu, and even questioning. You know, even I like the character of Azita Cruz because she's even questioning
Mhm.
what Mace would do if he wasn't taken away as a kid. You know, and they both grew up
Yeah.
on Haroon Cow, which is a big reference to the Shatterpoint novel.
Mhm.
Because that's where that book takes place, but that's where Mace Windu is from. So I really liked how it dives in a little bit deeper than I would have expected.
Yeah, it definitely yeah, just the way like these journeys, they're on a journey on a wandering through these caves, escaping yet another boar worm kind of thing. The spice must flow apparently.
Yeah.
All over. Uh yeah, to Mateus Mahanini again. This cover, last issue's cover, really felt like a Virgin variant. These deserve Virgin variant treatments. I think they'll get them. I'm sure they'll get them. Yeah, I'd be on the lookout for those because they're really good. Yeah, that one little, a few interesting meditations on the Jedi in this little comic. Context to Mace's line in Phantom Menace: "We are keepers of the peace, not soldiers." I think that's in Phantom Menace, right? And then of course, 10 years later, he's all, "Yeah, we're gonna go lead a clone army," or maybe it's in Attack of the Clones. I don't know why. I don't remember where it is, but it just stands out. Mace at this point, he's very much, yeah, I'm only going to use violence as a last resort. I'm only going to, this creature that's coming at me. It's just an animal here. Well, here's another contrast to Attack of the Clones that I thought of. You know, here's an animal. They're just animals. I'm not going to kill them.
Yep.
Versus Anakin's, they're animals, and I murdered them like animals.
Mm.
Right now, of course, the Tuscans, they aren't just animals. They are sentient beings, with who did murder his mother. But in this case, this is just a boar worm protecting whatever it's protecting, its home. It's just running on instinct. There's no need to kill, like we see with Rey in the Rise of Skywalker. So reflecting on that, and then of course, yeah, this question of choice. Well, it's similar, right? You both with violence, or kind of peaceably putting the worms to bed so they can get out of there. Uh, Also this choice of, yeah, he gets taken from his parents when he's a baby because he's a Jedi, and and this interesting, connection is what if to his home planet, as you mentioned. But the choice then to simply still be who he is, even if he didn't have the choice, right? That's again the foreshadowing of, in the Clone Wars, the Jedi are going to either have to choose to be who they are as the guardians of peace and justice in the galaxy, or as what Joel and I talk about a lot, how Palpatine convinces them to become something else, become someone they're not, and that leads them to being eliminated in Order 66, which Joel and I are talking about on Monday, by the way. So yeah, it's or hopefully talking about Monday, we'll see. So yeah, definitely this surprising little reflection on the Jedi. It was really, like you mentioned, pacing. I think you mentioned pacing in the High Republic Adventures, but and also in this one, yeah, to go between the the quiet meditative conversation as they're working their way through this cave, and the fast-paced action as they're fighting the boarworm and running from whoever and climbing the cliff face and all that. And even using that cliff face as a metaphor, there are multiple ways to grow out of hardship. Another aspect of the choice of the Jedi, even I mean, what we see in High Republic, for example, how all these younglings and these initiates and these Padawans, they are still making choices, even though they didn't necessarily choose to be there in the first place. They're making a choice to embrace it or not, because what if that is the will of the Force? And we see that with Lula. We're seeing that Mace as an adult here. That last thing, again, the Scourge and their aversion to, not the Scourge, the Shroud. Their aversion to science. That's very fascinating. It's a little bit of a tidbit. You mentioned them. You mentioned the Tatooine shout, Jabba's palace. So yeah, I mean, coaxium. If coaxium is what we saw in Solo, is so important to the galaxy, how much more would coaxium ultra be? So yeah. That's Mace Windu. Do you have any? We have a little bit more time. Do you have any further thoughts on this issue?
Yeah, I mean, we have the idea that the saber is more of a shield. I like when he said that, because we've heard about that in the High Republic with Shalandra Show, literally using a shield, an energy shield, instead of her lightsaber most of the time. So it's cool that they carry along that kind of mythology, methodology, and different things, philosophy with that.
It's true. Like Shalandra, I mean, she represents the way the Jedi are supposed to be guardians and guardians of peace. Yeah, I mean, it is funny, Mace, but that's just it, right? At the end of what supposedly his life, he's like, no, I'm gotta assassinate the Chancellor because he's in too much control. Palpatine maneuvering Mace to be someone other than who he is. So, yeah, I know we have a few takes in the comments.
A few negative takes. I'll give them a shout out. The book just hit New York Times bestseller, man. You cannot say that it's not selling. I hate that argument that the books don't sell, because you look at the methodology. Look at it. You could look at that and say, how is this not selling if it's selling? But New York Times bestseller, so bad take.
All I'll say is, I mean, now if people if it's not for everyone, that's fine. Get into comments, and if you have a reasoned argument why you don't like the High Republic, then that's fair. But just facts are facts. Also, shout out to Eugene Ing, your new YouTube member on the Star Wars Underworld YouTube network. Hopefully you also get a shout out tonight on the flagship show. So there we go. All right, one last but not least, Darth Vader number 44, written by Greg Pak, or by Adam Gorham. Adam is going to be at Comic-Con, so hopefully able to say hi to him. Adam Gorham and Paul Fry. Colors by Federico Blee. Cover, of course, as always, by Lynell Francis Yu and Romulo Fajardo Jr. Rise of the MAR Corps. Darth Vader is picking up the pieces after the Scourge. There's the Scourge. Wreaked havoc. But could a rebel squad of cyborgs bring chaos to the Dark Lord of Order? Who are Vader's new troopers? Find out here. I gotta say, 2 words: Imperial Coruscant. Going back very much in the kind of the Andor, this what's his name? Fabarian, I forget his name. Fabarian. This well, like last issue, talking about how they if a high-ranking Imperial official gets a speeding ticket, they it's so convenient, so wonderful, so nice. See it. No problem. Except when Fabarian needs to get the attention so we can get into the office, so we can bring this intel to Sly Moore. So that was very clever of him. The machinations, just seeing the machinations of Imperial Coruscant again. It is my favorite planet. It's not the planet I want to live on, but for so many reasons, just every story set on Coruscant just happens to be my favorite. Like the one I mentioned where Mace Windu tumbles to probably his death, but maybe not. But also, this one, just exciting, just intriguing with this new character, relatively new character. But and then this whole thing of chaos versus order, and Vader being the one. Oddly enough, I'm just thinking this now. Do the Schism Imperials sort of have this sort of chosen one thing happening, where Vader's at least the New Hope to bring order to what they see as Palpatine just being like the Jedi of old, not kind of contemplating how many angels of Viego can dance on the head of a pin. And Palpatine, it's how many demons of Viego can dance, demons of Malachor can dance on the head of a pin. And they want Vader to come in there and bring justice and in kind of a I mean here's a functionary who by definition has a corrupt job to get rich dignitaries off of their speeding tickets. By definition, so clearly he wants more justice and fairness, and that's what they believe that the Empire is about. And it is fascinating to see how diluted they are, because they think that's what it's about, but it's clearly not. And that's what the Rebel Alliance and their point is, that last moment of if Sly Moore has some kind of force sensitivity telepathy going on, what is Vader experiencing? Hopefully next issue we do see what the implications of him feeling the screams and the torment of these MAR troopers, these rebels who are completely trapped in their own bodies against their will. Is that feeding Vader as the dark side suffering that feeds his power, or is it evoking some sort of newfound compassion? Because we see what happens to Sly, we see what happens to Anakin in coming up. So again, I'm always having Return of the Jedi in view, always having the return of Anakin Skywalker in view with these. Just what does this relate? I know I had to get spoiled on kind of the end game of this, of how it's trying to a little bit. I tried to avoid it. I haven't even seen the Bad Batch yet, so I'm trying to avoid those spoilers too. But it was earning this book, and the ongoing book continues to earn its place as this gradual movement towards the events of Return of the Jedi. Again, it still brings up this question: if Vader is meant to be now the face of opposition to Palpatine, is that feeding his ultimate, chucking Palpy off the ledge, or is it feeding his sense of he's being very chastened at the beginning of Return of the Jedi and all through? He's very much brought to heel. Probably both, and it's interesting using this comic to actually tease out what's just implied in this film from 1983. That there's both going on at the same time. It's not too implied. We see It's Too Late for Me, Son, and the moment after Luke is taken away on that bridge on Endor. It's not too implied, but this is really exploring that the conflict more deeply, and it's a different kind of conflict. It's not, at no point is he necessarily loyal to Palpatine. It's why is he disloyal to Palpatine? Is it for his own power, or for compassion and for his son and for the rebel cause, even to some extent? So again, Greg Pak and company doing a good job making me happy that we still have this comic book. So that's my thoughts on Vader 44. Chris, I'll throw it to you. What are your thoughts on this issue?
Yeah, so we had really good comics this week. This one kind of stood head high over the other ones. I really enjoyed this one quite a bit. And this is coming from somebody who probably about a dozen issues ago was just like, where is this going, man? Like, there's just a lot of spinning wheels, a lot of reliance on flashbacks where it was eating up the page count of a 22-page comic every week. Like, where is this going? How many times do I have to get beaten over the head with the same sort of stuff? Like, it seems like it's a bit too much. Yeah. But no, and I think one of the reasons why I like this issue so much is it puts the center stage on this random Imperial. And it's almost like a one-shot story in a way, where it gives us a full, complete story that's encapsulated in this Vader story with this Fabarian going back to the Scourge. We're calling back to this big event that we spent 5-6 months on. And we were saying this at the time, like, what are the ramifications of that going to be in the future stories? and we're seeing that kind of trickle out to Vader and some other things. But with this idea of, okay, we're getting the idea of the perspective of, oh my gosh, like this poor guy was like almost killed by the Imperials, like just trying to decimate the Scourge droids on Coruscant, and going for a hell of a ride. Like this story was quite a ride because I wasn't sure where it was going with Fabarian. And just the idea that's connecting to Andor. We're seeing the mundane jobs of the Imperials. We're seeing this guy just spitting practically in the face of Fabarian as a superhero, this Baron guy. But then he gets to get revenge on this guy. And it was like so like I don't know, I don't have any attachment to this character, but the way that Greg Pak wrote it so well, I kind of like almost like fist bumped when he killed the guy because it was like that was actually so well earned in just a couple pages that were, you know, written well, drawn very well. And he's kind of like Fabarian is also like our perspective into what the heck is going on the inside with the Schism Imperial. Like he's experiencing the stuff with the governor, with this power cells that they were able to encapsulate these power from this machine that the rebels had with the good old friends of Anakin Skywalker from the pod racing days. Yeah, they got to harness this technology of these storms and put it in their power armor, looking like Marines. And oh man, there's just so much good stuff. Like I feel like Vader really took a back seat in this issue, but it's well earned because now I have a lot more, you know, attachment to last issue was the governor got a lot of the spotlight. This issue Fabarian got a lot of the spotlight. So we're building up the trust in these characters. We're building up the likability of why we could be on their side when it's Imperial versus Imperial. Who do we root for? And just the idea of the absolute horror of this issue, horrifying. These poor people of the rebels just having their absolute control taken away from them to the point where they're like 95% cyborg, but they got their brain that's organic, obviously. And part of them is like trying to break free. We seen that last issue when the woman did break free for like a couple seconds.
Yeah, it's true.
And then Vader just shut the button back on and put her right back. And now they're like screaming and you could hear it through the force. Like this is some dark stuff here. And it is just damn scary, man. And it's just like, oh yeah, imagine what Vader feels if Sly Moore is just barely force sensitive. And then you see like that beautiful image, second to last page of just all those people screaming and
Panel
like Vader's helmet.
Page of the week. Let's get it. Yeah, that great point about it being a, you know, an encapsulated story, one contained story, very concise, very very clear. Yeah, I mean, you know, here's our page of the week right there. Yeah, well done. Because remembering, it also just serves to remind us that these are real people, I mean, they're fictional characters, but you know, their actual characters are not. They're not droids. They're cyborgs, and like we saw with Balance in Bounty Hunters by Ethan Sachs, you know, that this is a real character with a real soul, and their soul is being, if I can use that term, I mean, we basically see their soul in the Force is being tormented and tortured by this Schism Imperial, which isn't up to any good either. You know, I mean, that's something we kind of cheering for them, and we're cheering for Fabarian. You're right. But yeah, it's remember, these are also like, because they're also gonna want to oppose the rebels too, right? They want to be the new empire. What I will say, you know, yeah, Vader takes a back seat, but just like Lula takes a back seat in HRA, it's, you know, look, it's Vader through Fabarian's eyes, through Tantaza's eyes, through Sly Moore's eyes, and maybe soon we are probably going to see Vader through Palpatine's eyes. And so that's, I mean, and of course, Return of the Jedi, we see Vader through Luke's eyes. And so, yeah, it's this kaleidoscopic picture, because Vader doesn't always say much or do much. He just stands there and takes them out. I mean, you know, he likes the red and takes them out. But yeah, it's using, I mean, Vader through Sabe's eyes. We did get a lot of that. You know, using well, you know, Thrawn Alliance next week, we're going to Vader through Thrawn's eyes, right? and just like we got, we have Thrawn through Anakin's eyes, and just using more characters, building it out to create this kaleidoscopic picture of this character. So yeah, really effective. Do you have any further thoughts on Vader 44 before we wrap up?
Yeah, the stuff at the end would slide more. Like we know that she's doing a Schism Imperial, but a part of me thinks that she might still be working for the Emperor in a certain
she
way.
comes
That
back
she's
from
like
him, right?
gathering up all of the rebels within the Empire, essentially, just to get them to one spot to just crush them all.
Yeah, maybe.
To stop this, invasion from the inside. So that's what could maybe be happening in the future. I could see that happening in like the last issue of the series or something, like just getting crushed and Vader just becomes subservient to Emperor for like the third or fourth time. But I feel like they've done that plenty of times already. So I don't know if they want to repeat that again, but it's good to have a character that's kind of a wild card because it keeps us guessing as an audience. It keeps us kind of speculating just like this, and it keeps us on the edge of our seat at least.
I mean, we first see her in the prequels as one of Palpatine's attendants, right? Just a silent character that then, of course, gets spun out into these materials. Yeah, maybe all this time, just like with Captain Pride, right?
Captain
also
Pride.
there, Enric Pride. I served you in the last war. Serve you again. That's a good point. That who knows what side she's on? She's a wild card. Yeah, maybe she's trying to come up through the middle. Who knows? It's the Empire. What can you say? All right, I think that does it for time. We gotta have a shorter episode this week because we're gonna fit into our lunch breaks or my lunch break, whatever. But yeah, next week. Oh well, first of all, let's do plugs. So this has been good. Let's do next week and then plugs and then back to next week. How about that?
Yeah.
Releasing next week, High Republic number 5. Quick turnaround, actually. We had number 4 last week.
Awesome.
Thrawn Alliance is number 3. Another quick turnaround.
Yeah.
Kakashi Okazaki's Visions one shot.
Finally, dude, this thing got delayed like 3 or 4 times. What is going on? So I'm finally having to read this thing.
Speaking of finally, Jango Fett number 1. Now, what we're gonna do, Chris, you're at a con next week. I'm gonna go solo next Wednesday. I think that's worked well enough of being able to have the covers up and then I'll just talk. We won't do Jango Fett number 1 because that is the official comic book. He's the official character of the Tractor Beam.
I'm gonna buy as many alternate copies as I can of this book.
Look at that. So we're gonna hold off. I'll just talk about the 3 High Republic alliances and visions, and then we'll talk about Jango and then whatever else is up the week after, because we can spend more time on that character. So well, other than Jango, what else are you looking forward to next week?
Well, I mean, going to that convention, but no, I mean,
sure.
Thrawn Alliance is this will be the issue that they probably bring into Grisk. So I'm very curious to finally see what they might look like after all these years.
Yeah. I'm intrigued by this Visions, the Peach Momoko one, which was the silent comic. See what they do. It's always a challenge,
but
because you can't situate. But
this is the guy that actually drew the anime, wasn't he, of the duel?
Oh, maybe
this is the same guy. So this is basically as close to a sequel as we're gonna get, I think, or prequel, or whatever kind of story it is. I don't know where it is, and I haven't really read the synopsis on it, but
so maybe Wikipedia. Blah out there. And it should be good. Should be a good comic. I'll go solo. Why not? It'll be fine. I'm looking. Again, I'm always looking for the High Republic. High Republic is High Republic, especially again after we got last week with.
Oh my gosh, with Skier.
With Skier at the end, but everything with Keeve and Lorna, and then of course getting that audiobook announcement right after. So, just continuing on that journey.
Quick update from Cavan Scott's website. Apparently, it's going to be 10 issues, not 8.
Okay, so this will be the
halfway point. So
I was speculating it would be 13 because Wikipedia says 13, but it's going to be 10.
It could still be, I guess, but right now that's all they have announced.
So either way, I mean that confirms even more that Tempest Breaker is going to be the finale
I really
to
think
this
so.
comic book.
Hmm.
Generally, yeah, to
Hmm.
the story build. But yeah, here for it. All right. Yeah, we're making good on time. I'll say this.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get back to the plugs here. You can, again, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads at Iron Cannon Pod, EYEONCANONPOD. Check me out at Toronto Comic Con tomorrow and Saturday, especially, but also, I'll be around on Sunday, around the whole weekend. If you're there, stay tuned, at the SWU and at Iron Cannon Pod for all the coverage that Dom and I are getting going. Shout out to our buddies Order 416, etc.
Mm-hmm.
for all the stuff they'll get up to. And then of course Monday, Joel and I, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific. Possibly I may have another commitment that night. So either we're talking about Order 66 or he will have something else. Oh no, I think we're actually push the Order 66 to next week, the week after. But so I forget what we're talking about next week then. But yeah, or probably more Tales of the Jedi talk. So kind of extending the tractor beam legend style, but without necessarily me there. But that'll be fine. But yeah, 8:30 p.m. right here on the Underworld YouTube channel. So and all the socials, all your podcasts. Chris, very quickly, where can they find you on the internet?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, post skateboard videos and video game nonsense and everything else in between. So you can find me there on Star Raptor. Yeah, you could go ahead and find my stuff, also my writing, over on starraptor.substack.com for some blogs on different things like cards, reviews, different things like that. A whole bunch of different type of stuff. Whatever I feel like writing, I put up there. Then, yeah, youtube.com/starraptor. That's where I put most of my commitments in there, and that has reviews for things like the Dark Forces remaster, stuff like unboxings of the Star Wars Unlimited card game that just recently came out. I'm having a lot of fun with that, so yeah, go over there, youtube.com/starraptor.
Are you going to do a review on the Battlefront 2 on that, or are you gonna wait?
Oh man, I already refunded my money on that one.
Wow. All right.
It's an unplayable mess. So
there's
I don't
your
even know
review
if I
right
can
there.
That's it. Wait on that game.
Yeah,
buy it
fair.
right now.
Fair. That's too bad. I was like considering doing it, but is what it is. I got a con to go to this weekend. You got a con to go to next weekend. Until then, sorry. Well, I'll bring this back down here. And that. So again, go to your local comic book shop, pick those books up. I'll probably have Insider next week as well.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll wait till delay that till the week after as well.
Yeah, delay it till the week. Yeah.
So we can chat about that one too. Those will of course be Wednesdays, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Comics are for Wednesdays. Wednesdays are for comics. Just last night I had another commitment, but it's been fun. It's been good. We made it, Chris. We made it under 40 minutes. 3 books under 40 minutes. So check out those books. See you, Chris. You have a fun time at the con. I'm gonna have a fun time at the con.
Yeah, you guys too. Yeah.
But until then, happy reading.